this conversation, Jan. I'm very excited to have you because, the World Football Summit recently concluded as a
Yeah.
massively successful event. And apart from that, the circumstances which we faced before, and to have such an event now, it signals the opening up. It signals us moving towards, the betterment of what it was due to COVID.
Yeah.
So, yeah, so pretty excited to have you today.
Thank you.
So my starting question to you, Jan, would be, am I pronouncing your name correctly?
Yeah, you're pronouncing it perfectly. Yeah.
Amazing. Okay, so my first question to you, Jan, it is definitely, your journey. How did the idea of having something like World Football Summit came up?
Well, actually, World Football Summit is not a company itself. It's a brand that belongs to another company that I started in 2006 called Nexus Fostering Partnership. And that company was a company that specialized organizing events, and bringing people together. Mainly, we organized events for countries that wanted to strengthen commercial relationships with Spain. So we organized events. Well, we carry on doing that. We organize events. We help them when trade delegations travel to Spain in different trade fairs. Over the years, we became experts organizing all sorts of events. But we worked for different countries. But many times we organized an event for a country, and then we wouldn't work again for that other country for several years. So then we decided to look for events, or to build an event which would be ours, and that would strengthen year after year, which normally happens with events, And surprisingly, when we had the idea of a football industry event in 2015, we saw that in Spain a similar event did not exist. So an event which would bring together the key stakeholders of the football industry. Our intention, obviously, and you can see that, you can gather that from the name World Football Summit, was that it would be an international gathering, because one, the football industry is a global industry. Spain is also a fantastic destination to organize any sorts of events. And if you're talking about football, with a strong heritage of football that exists in Spain, well, we had all the ingredients for it to be successful. So in 2015, we had the idea. The idea was very good, but like any business idea, the most important thing is then to be able to execute it properly. And it was very, very tough. It was very tough to execute our first edition and to make it a success, because we had no prior contacts within the football industry, and we were complete outsiders to the football and sports industry. And this industry, it's a rather small industry. Most people know each other. So many people were asking, who are these people who want to do this grandiose event? And have never done anything similar before. But we kind of, had the courage to develop the event and to make a successful first edition. And that was, I think, the hardest part. But once we celebrated our first edition, which took place in October 2016, now close to 5 years ago, then we started building on that success, and we managed to make World Football Summit what it is today, an international event and one of the most important football industry events in the world. Obviously, we've had some setbacks, and last year with the pandemic, it's been very, very tough. But luckily, this year, things, at least here in Europe, seems to be getting back on track, and we seem to be getting back to some sort of normality.
You mentioned about, the challenges which I think all of us went through last year. How did you adapt to the circumstances? Because I know there was no event last year. So what, and from what I am to understand, that's the main business model, the
Yeah,
events. And with that not happening, it must have, uh, made things very challenging for you. So what
yeah,
did you guys do?
yeah. Well, last year, I mean, as I said, our first edition was in 2016. Our biggest event then happened in 2019, just so you have an idea. It was our last physical event before the one we did 2 weeks ago, was in September 2019. We had 2,000 attendees. 60% came from abroad. We had 150 different speakers and organized about 40 different conferences. No? So it was a very international event. And in 2020, we were going to organize our first edition of WFS Africa, the second edition of World Football Summit Asia, which would have happened in Kuala Lumpur, and our fifth edition in Madrid. So we were also internationalizing our brand because our editions in different continents, in different regions, they have a very similar format, but the attendees, the speakers, the content is very different. It's very much focused on the challenges and the opportunities that the football industry has in those different regions. No, so in that sense, these events, they don't step on each other, rather the opposite. No, they allow us to grow our platform and reach new audiences. No, and develop different and interesting content for the whole football industry. So when the pandemic happened, obviously all of that growth stopped immediately, but we didn't stand still. No, it was financially, it was obviously tough for us, but we developed online conferences. We did 2 online events called WFS Live. We did our first one in July 2020, and the second edition took place in November. And actually, on paper, they were probably our biggest and most successful events ever. I mean, we had the largest amounts of speakers, probably the best quality speakers as well, the largest amount of attendees. Also, the media impact and the social media impact of the events was very big. So it allowed us, obviously, to grow as a platform, no, in terms of followers, in terms of community, and also in terms of reputation. But obviously, in terms of business-wise, it was obviously pretty damaging because the revenue that you can generate over an online event is not the same as that of a physical event. So it was a tough year, but looking at the glass half full, it certainly allowed us to generate a different business model. And the fifth edition of World Football Summit Europe, which we celebrated 2 weeks ago in Madrid, was also our first hybrid event. So it allowed us basically to incorporate everything that we learned organizing online events into a physical event. So and I believe you were able to participate in an online way since you weren't able to travel to Madrid. So it basically gave us the opportunity to reach many more people and in that sense offer a better product for everybody that is involved in an event like ours, the speakers, the partners, and the attendees, whether they be on site or online.
Absolutely. And, obviously moving on from the past challenges and how you were able to, make the best out of it, to your event which happened 2 weeks ago. Tell us about that. What was the response? Was everyone, of course, everyone was being very careful. One could sense that. But apart from that, what was the attitude? I'm sure people must be very happy to, meeting each other in person because, as much as we can talk about online, it's just a very different dynamic when you meet someone in person and, you put a face and then so many things which take place. So tell us about the event which
Yeah,
happened.
no, it was a great challenge for us because when we decided to launch the event in Madrid and basically announce that it was going to be on site and online, no, it's our first hybrid event. We weren't really sure what to expect, so we took that decision in February this year and set the date for the end of September, no, for the 22nd and 23rd of September. Our initial objectives were to have about 600 on-site attendees over the 2 days, and more than 1,000 online attendees. No, and at the end we had exactly the opposite. So over the 2 days of the event, we had 1,400 people attend on-site in Madrid, and over 600 online. So actually, obviously here in Europe, here in Spain, most people are vaccinated. So that we didn't know that in February. No, we didn't know exactly how that was going to come. But well, it allowed us basically to ensure that most of the people were, willing to travel and willing to, get to networking face to face again. So in that sense, it was a big success. We also had other challenges because we did this year. We did our event. We celebrated it at the Wanda Metropolitano, which is the stadium of La Liga champion Atlético Madrid. So it was the first time that we did our event in a football stadium and in that venue, and also that has its challenges. But it was a fantastic location as well. No, plenty of space. A lot of it was in the open air. So even though people were wearing masks, you could keep your distances, and we were especially careful. No, so even though you were fully vaccinated, we required an antigen test to enter the location, because even though you are vaccinated, you can still spread the disease. And this is a networking event. No, many people, were meeting for the first time, or they were seeing each other again for the first time after more than 2 years. So many of the people who were there, when they saw each other, and that's my case, you basically, hugged and talked very closely. So you network with those people 48 hours. So I think it was the right decision for everybody to be extremely careful, with all of the COVID measures that were taking place. But overall, I must say that, yeah, the overall reaction from everybody involved and everybody who was participating was extremely positive. And there was what we did notice, that there was a real craving for the industry to get together again, to engage, and to continue, the work, and to network, to create business opportunities, and exchange opinions.
Definitely. And you, Jan, I know since you've been so closely associated with the football industry, and networking is the core of our football industry. And you must have had a lot of new brands coming in to who would want to participate at, WFS, to showcase their brands to football clubs, other organizations. Can you tell us about some of these brands which have really shot up? Maybe it could be from the esports vertical or an NFT vertical, or from the artificial intelligence or a VR category?
Yeah, well, yeah, we've had, over the course of the 2 days, I think we had over 700 different companies that attended. Some merely attended, as attendees on site, but we had many companies, that were speaking at World Football Summit for the very first time, or that were showcasing their product for the first time. Obviously, you were talking tech over these past years. Everything that is blockchain, NFTs, has taken a huge strength. So we had, for the first time, participating a company like Socios.com. We had Sorare. We had many companies, in that sphere that participated, and there was Dapper Labs was another company that participated. So yeah, in that sense, we did notice that there's a new sectors and new companies coming out, and that obviously sports, and football is a huge opportunity for those sorts of companies. Artificial intelligence as well. We had the Facebooks, we had the TikToks as well. The Googles came, and obviously all of the football clubs, leagues, and federations. We had over 200 clubs, leagues, and federations from all over the world participate at World Football Summit. No, we also have the financial sector with investment funds such as CVC participate, Goldman Sachs. At World Football Summit, it's a 2-day event. We have, as I said before, we had over 35 different conferences. So we always try and give a 360 degrees vision of what the football industry is about, no? And make sure that we have representatives from the different pillars and from the different tracks that make World Football Summit, a complete event, no? Also NGOs who use the power of football for development, purpose, women's football. It's really, actually today, we've just released all of the panels that took place at World Football Summit. So you can access all of the content of World Football Summit in our YouTube channel, no? And there you can definitely see how transversal the football industry is, and how many sectors and how many companies it touches.
Definitely. And it sounds really interesting because, like you said, so many brands which have come in and they're so interesting. But any particular brands which have, caught your attention and you might have thought, oh, this is something really interesting and worth pursuing. So did any brand caught such attention of yours, which was very off the grid, not much expected?
Well, it's I personally don't like to speak about any particular brand, no, because there are so many, and I think that's what really makes attractive an event like World Football Summit, no? The fact that nobody actually goes to World Football Summit because they want to hear a particular speaker or a particular brand, no? What's interesting about an event of World Football Summit is how we bring together all of those different views, all of those different companies, and that's what makes it such an interesting event. No, that you can come out of it and you have such a complete view about the industry. One of the, and I mentioned it before, the NFTs was maybe one of the most talked about panels that took place at World Football Summit. And Sofios.com is a company, that has, brought a lot of attention to the the football industry. They have closed agreements with hundreds of clubs, leagues, federations, not only in football. They started with football, but now they're working with the NBA. So maybe from the feedback I personally got from many people, that is probably one of the companies that brought, the biggest attention during World Football Summit. We also have an award ceremony, and actually they also won the award for best digital platform. No, so certainly that is a company that has made a lot of noise over the past year, and especially during the pandemic, and has grown tremendously. And yeah, maybe if I have to, choose one company, the one that definitely brought most attention or was most talked about, that would certainly be one of them, I'd say.
So, you spoke about brands diverging into other sports as well. So will we see WFX expanding into other sports in future? Because there's NBA, there's NFL, there's a whole lot of sports out there, and especially a lot of federations, and we actually do need a cohesive platform and someone as good as you guys are. I think that'd be brilliant.
Yeah, but actually World Football Summit, obviously football is the main actor of our summit, but it's definitely not the only one, no? And we, since the very beginning, we've always actively invited not only other sports, but other industries to participate at a World Football Summit. No, at the end, football belongs to an industry which, well, has its own industry, but it belongs to an even larger industry, which is the sports industry, and it belongs to an even larger industry, which is the entertainment industry. No, so we've had over the past years. I'd say every single sport participate as a speaker and also as attendees and even as sponsors at World Football Summit. So esports is always a hot topic. We've had, tennis, rugby, you name it. Every single sport is actively invited because, they have a lot to learn from how the football industry is being managed. And more importantly, the football industry also has a lot to learn about how other industries are being managed, no? And that you can see it, in the dimension of the event and the different attendees that we bring together, no? So yeah, football, as I said before, is definitely the main actor, but certainly not the only one, no?
Also, you mentioned, WFS does provide a great platform to organization with social causes, and also it helps promote women in sports, diversity, inclusion. You give platform, to everybody who wants to talk about these subjects. So, from your perspective, and you've been in the sports industry, in the football industry for some time now, do you think are we just talking about diversity and inclusion, or are we actually practicing it?
Well, I think obviously if you compare how we are today and you compare to how we were 10 years ago, for example, I think there's been a huge leap forward, no? So in that sense, the sports and the football industry is definitely improving, no? But I think it still has a huge road to go to. But not only that, I think the football industry and the sports industry has a huge responsibility, because I always say that probably football and sports is the greatest generator of content in the world. So as an industry, it's maybe not that big, but it has a huge voice. And because it has a huge voice, it has a huge responsibility. So I think the football industry has to do a lot more in that sense. And we, as a platform for the football industry, we always provide a space to discuss those topics. For example, we, in terms of women's football, we have a very strong collaboration with Women in Football, and we've actually pledged that in 2022, in our next event, which actually is not going to take place in Madrid, it will take place in Sevilla, at least 30% of the speakers are going to be women. No, and hopefully, in the future will be 50, no, and we won't have to make an effort, but I think it's important for the industry, to make sure, that it gives visibility to these different aspects which are important. This year, for example, together with Facebook, we also we have the awards, and we did a different category. We established a new category, which was the Marcus Rashford Award. As you know, Marcus Rashford last year, he did a huge campaign thanks to the power of his voice through his social media channels to make a positive change in society, no? And he actually twisted the arm of the UK government and of Boris Johnson, to make sure that the government ensured that small kids that did not have, or their families did not have the money to feed them, would be fed, no? So that is a prime example, of one footballer using his voice and his power to make positive change. So we got the idea of giving that prize and naming it after Marcus Rashford, because in our last online event, which took place in November, we dedicated the first day to the importance of social impact in football. And every single speaker during that day was giving Marcus Rashford as an example, no, of what an athlete should be doing, or how the football industry should be acting, no, and so we had the idea, and thanks to Facebook, we were able to generate, no, and make sure that Marcus not only would accept that prize, but would be involved in that prize in future editions, no. So we're really looking forward to seeing who next year will win the Marcus Rashford Award, no? And hopefully, you know, it will be another athlete who has been inspired by his behavior and also is using that power for a positive change, no? So all of that is something that I think where the football industry has improved, but there's definitely, you know, a very large road still to take.
Definitely. I think what Marcus did was phenomenal. You know, we spoke about it when I spoke with Rock Nation last time. They mentioned about the great role, and what he's done is brilliantly. And I think it was a great gesture from you all to, you know, name an award after him. It will encourage so many people. So, talking about more of WFS, what are your future plans uh, with the summit and in general with your brand? What's the next step? What's the future for WFS?
Yeah. Well, the future is to carry on our growth, and I think we still have a lot of room for improvement. No, obviously, our event here in Spain is very established, but it still has a lot of potential for growth, and we hope to continue to grow and, you know, make it an event which is always better for everybody who's involved and makes it happen. So our partners, the attendees, and the speakers, know, and give them that visibility, you know, and those opportunities of networking that they're seeking for, and then to establish those same events in those different regions and continents where we want to establish and bring our brand. No, so we hope to do the same thing that we've done here in Spain. We hope to do it in Africa. We hope to do it in Asia. And soon we hope to also do it in Latin America and South America and the US, no? So bring our summit to those continents, to those regions, and, you know, generate that meeting point for everybody who's working in the industry. And you know, obviously with the pandemic, I think events like ours are very important because maybe, you know, travel is going to be reduced, no? But in an event like ours, like an event of any other industry, you have the opportunity to meet in 2 days people that otherwise might take you 12, 24 months, no? And multiple travel, no? So if you can bring all of those key stakeholders over 2-3 days of networking, of sharing ideas, of generating consensus, then, you know, that will be a big success, no? And we hope to bring those meeting points all over the world, no? And that is a little bit our strategy, and we're still well, there's so much to be done, no? And so much potential still to cover.
So, in one sentence, global expansion and presence.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, our name is World Football Summit. So yeah, we truly want to be a global event platform, and also to create those opportunities not only during the events, but also 365 days a year. No, so we also have different products, and we also organize webinars. We organize B2B meetings, whether they be on site or online. So basically, you know, to be a platform for everybody who's involved in one way or another to find their own niche, and to be able to provide, you know, that platform to communicate and to make make contacts and bring people together.
Brilliant. So, Jan, my last question to you would be, what would be your advice to people who are starting out in the sports events industry? Because I'm sure you must have, you know, your journey so far must have been a roller coaster. I'm sure there must be bad days as well as there were good days and great days. So, what would your advice be to all the youngsters who are just starting out in the sports events industry?
Yeah, well, I would advise for anybody who wants to work in the sports industry, one, to prepare yourself very well, as much as possible. And obviously, you know, right now there are many masters in sports management that allow you, you know, to get that knowledge to work in the sports industry, and also, you know, open many contacts with companies that are working in this sector. No, but so that is one very important and key point. But I think the most important one is, you know, the sports industry at the end is an industry, you know, and this industry is set up of companies. And what companies are always looking for is people that add value to them. No, so when I get many times applications of people that want to work at World Football Summit because they like football, no, and that I don't think should be the attitude when you're looking for a job. No, I'm seeking for great professionals, no, not for fans of football. So if you're a fan and you love football, that is certainly an added value. But what we're seeking, and what any company in the sports industry is seeking, is great individuals that have a passion for their job, no, and that add real value to the company, no. So ask what you can do for the company, and not what the company can do for you. No, that would be my advice. So when going to interviews, when approaching people in the industry, be very proactive and offer something to them rather than them offering something to you. No, because we get so many applications, so many things, because there's so much passion, and the industry is not as big as other industry. No, so we're always, like, we are companies, and like any other companies, we're always and constantly seeking for great individuals and great workers. And if you are like that, you will definitely find a job in that sector.
I think that's brilliant advice. Thank you so much for answering all our questions, Jan. I'll just stop the recording. Praveen, can you please stop the recording? I'll ask my friend. Okay, it's fine. I think he might be not there. Anyway, I'll cut this part. So just in general, you know, I want to know what are your plans with Asia? Because, you know, I try to be as active as possible with helping people who want to come to India or Asia. So as Manchester United's India consultant when they were trying to come here, but then the pandemic happened. I worked with them when I was in the UK as well. I was in the UK for 2.5 years.
With whom were you working? Sorry, Taruka, with whom?
There was a girl called Christy. She passed, she left the job.
Okay.
Andrew Diggle. You know Andrew Diggle? Manchester United's Andrew Diggle.
Okay.
He was the media head then. But but I used to report to another person. And it was a work experience when I was in the UK as part of my education. So I was the only person who got that work experience. Okay. And then after that, I came back to India and I worked with FIFA Under-17 World Cup as a venue press officer. And then they wanted to really do something in India. So they hired me as an India-oriented consultant. So it was just, for some time. And then I worked as APAC correspondent